The footage opens with chaos already brewing. A blurred screenshot flashes across the screen Kirk's phone. A string of messages, Jasmine's name glowing in the blue bubble at the top. Fans freeze frame it within seconds, flooding social media with the same stunned caption. What is this? Within minutes, hashtags explode. Hashtag Kirk on Jasmine trends nationwide. Even people who never watched the show are pulled into the madness. The whispers start small screenshots circulating in private group chats. Reaction pages uploading 10-second clips, but the story spreads like gasoline catching fire. By morning, every gossip outlet is calling it the Atlanta scandal of the year. The messages aren't just friendly. They're long, emotional, filled with lines that make hearts drop. Jasmine's tone sounds vulnerable, while Kirk's words read like a man trying to hide something. You promised we'd keep this between us, one of her alleged texts says. His reply, if Rasheeda ever finds out, it's over. That one line sets the internet ablaze. Outside Frost Bistro, cameras swarm. Reporters shout questions that Kirk refuses to answer. Rasheeda stays silent at first, but her expression-tight jaw, clenched fist says more than words. Everyone knows that silence on her part never lasts long. Inside sources whisper that she's seen the messages herself. One crew member claims she broke down backstage before filming, saying she felt betrayed all over again. Fans are divided. Some defend her strength. Others accuse Kirk of repeating old mistakes. Memes, reaction videos, live breakdowns. Every corner of the internet is dissecting each message like evidence in a criminal case. The tension doesn't stop there. Jasmine posts a cryptic story, a photo of a half-empty wine glass, captioned "Truth always comes to light." No names, no tags, but everyone knows exactly who she means. Within an hour, Rasheeda responds with her own post, a mirror selfie. No caption, just her wedding ring catching the light. 2 images, 2 women, 1 silent war. Producers, sensing a ratings goldmine, start rearranging the shooting schedule. One leaks that Rasheeda demanded to see Jasmine face-to-face before agreeing to continue filming. Kirk reportedly tries to calm her down, but she isn't listening. You played with my piece again, she tells him in a clip that later goes viral. Her voice doesn't crack, it sharpens. The tension is unbearable. This isn't just another rumor. This feels final. Fans say it's the last straw, the scandal that could destroy the Frost legacy for good. And as night falls over Atlanta, one question echoes through every comment section, podcast, and reaction video. What else is in that phone that the public hasn't seen yet? The scene begins inside Frost Bistro, the energy heavy like rain before a storm. The camera pans across the restaurant where staff whisper behind counters, eyes darting to the back office door that's been locked for the past 30 minutes. Inside, Rasheeda sits at her desk staring at Kirk's phone. It isn't hers to open, but the lock screen had flashed enough for her to see Jasmine's name. Her hands shake but her face stays calm, almost too calm. She's seen this pattern before. The stillness before she decides whether to cry or fight. She presses her nails into her palm and whispers to herself, "Not again, God, not again." She doesn't unlock the phone, but she doesn't need to. The messages already leaked online are loud enough. She knows the tone, the rhythm, the way Kirk writes when he's trying to explain his side before he gets caught. Outside, Kirk is pacing near the parking lot, talking on speakerphone to production. His voice is tired, defensive. It's not what they think, man. It's just business. But the producer on the other end isn't buying it. They tell him the footage of his phone screen hit over 2 million views overnight. The episode isn't even out yet. Kirk runs a hand down his face. "They gonna ruin me," he mutters. Meanwhile, Jasmine is miles away, sitting on her couch, surrounded by phone notifications. Her DMs are chaos. Fans calling her names, others telling her to speak her truth. She scrolls through screenshots, some real, some fake, all carrying her name. The messages that started it all came from a night she thought no one would ever know about. The night Kirk called her after a production meeting, sounding drunk and nostalgic. He'd said, "Sometimes I just miss when things were simple." She didn't reply, but she didn't hang up either. Now that one moment of hesitation has become national gossip. At that same hour, Yandy calls Rasheeda after seeing the headlines. "Girl, you okay?" she asks softly. Rasheeda doesn't answer at first. She's looking through the comments on her latest post. Thousands of people tagging her with broken heart emoji. She finally exhales. "I'm not gonna let this destroy me," she says quietly. "Not again." But her voice cracks just a little on the last word. Yandy tells her to stay calm, to handle it off camera. But Rasheeda's already thinking about the next filming schedule. "They want drama," she says. "Fine, I'll give them real emotion." As the sun sets, Kirk walks back inside the restaurant. The place is nearly empty now except for 2 waiters cleaning up. He walks to the office door and hesitates before knocking. When he enters, Rasheeda doesn't look up. "You ready to talk?" he asks. Her silence answers for her. She slides the phone across the desk. "Who's Jasmine to you now?" Kirk sighs. "She's nobody. You know this internet stuff. People twist everything." Rasheeda finally raises her eyes. "So you didn't text her, miss our talks?" He freezes. The room feels colder. She leans back in her chair. "Yeah, I saw that. Everyone did." Kirk shakes his head. "That was old. She texted me about business. I responded. That's it." She laughs, but there's no humor in it. "Business? What business you got talking about missing her?" He tries to explain, but she stands up before he finishes. "Brand. Everything. And you still found a way to test me again?" she says, voice rising now, trembling between fury and heartbreak. Kirk steps forward, trying to reach her hand, but she pulls away. "Don't touch me right now," she warns, tears forming though she refuses to let them fall. "You had the whole world laughing at me once. I stood next to you like nothing happened. But this time, you made me a fool again in front of millions." Kirk's tone softens, desperate. "Rasheeda, please. I didn't mean for none of this to blow up. Those messages got taken out of context." She shakes her head slowly. "Context doesn't change the words, Kirk." Meanwhile, social media is in meltdown mode. Fans are dissecting each screenshot frame by frame, analyzing font size, timestamps, even the emojis used. Twitter threads read like investigation files. One fan writes, "You can tell it's recent. Look at the updated iOS bubbles." Others swear the messages are fake, created by trolls who want to break the Frost family apart. YouTube channels post 20-minute breakdowns titled "The Truth Behind Kirk's Messages." Gossip blogs declare Jasmine the most talked about woman in Atlanta again. Jasmine, sitting alone in her apartment, scrolls through a new headline. Jasmine responds to Kirk's scandal, claims she's being framed. She lets out a frustrated sigh. She hasn't even said anything publicly, but someone already posted a fake statement using her name. She types a note in her phone. "I stayed quiet for too long. Maybe it's time they hear my side." Her best friend Nia begs her not to. "Girl, if you speak now, they'll drag you again. Let it die down." Jasmine looks out her window at the Atlanta skyline. "They already dragging me," she whispers. The next morning, production holds an emergency meeting. Cameras are already rolling because they know whatever comes next will go viral. The producer asks Rasheeda if she's still willing to film the upcoming episode. She says she will, but only if Kirk and Jasmine are both present. "I want answers," she says coldly. Kirk tries to object, but the producer sides with Rasheeda. They know the confrontation could break view records. The filming location is set at a private studio in Midtown. When Jasmine arrives, she's wearing all white, minimal makeup, her expression unreadable. Kirk's already there, pacing nervously. Rasheeda walks in last, dressed in black, her face glowing under studio lights but her eyes sharp like glass. The silence between them is electric. Jasmine greets her quietly. "Hey." Rasheeda doesn't reply. The producer nods to the camera crew, and filming begins. Rasheeda leans forward in her chair. "So, Jasmine, you want to tell me why your name's all over my husband's phone again?" Jasmine shifts uncomfortably, glancing at Kirk. "Honestly, I don't even know how that got out." "It wasn't like that," Rasheeda interrupts. "Then what was it like? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like history repeating itself." Kirk cuts in. "It was about the restaurant promo. She was gonna do a guest spot for Frost Bistro." Rasheeda glares at him. "A guest spot? That's what we're calling midnight messages now." The room grows silent again. Jasmine finally breaks. "Look, he reached out first. I didn't start anything. I didn't ask him to message me." Kirk's face turns red. "That's not true. Jasmine, stop lying." She snaps back. "I got the receipts, Kirk." Her voice shakes but stays steady enough to send chills through the crew. Everyone in the room can feel it. This is no longer just a storyline. This is a real fracture, live on camera. Rasheeda sits there, her jaw locked, watching the two people who once shattered her peace start arguing in front of her again. She whispers under her breath, "I can't believe this is happening again." The camera zooms in on her face, catching every flicker of pain, every ounce of disbelief. The world is about to see every flicker of pain, every ounce of disbelief. The world is about to see everything. The argument spills out of control. Kirk tries to grab his phone from the table, but Jasmine snatches it first, holding it up for the cameras. "You want to act like I'm lying?" she says, scrolling fast. "Then explain this." She opens a thread showing his name, the late-night texts, the heart emoji, the call logs that go back weeks. Kirk lunges to take it back, but she steps away. You said you deleted everything, he hisses under his breath, forgetting the microphones are still on. Rasheeda freezes. The entire crew does too. It's one of those moments that splits time, the kind that can't be undone. Rasheeda stands up slowly. So you did have something to hide. Kirk starts rambling, his words falling apart. It ain't like that, I swear. I was just checking in, making sure she was okay. That's it. Rasheeda's tone turns razor sharp. Since when are you Jasmine's emotional support system? Jasmine cuts in. He's been the one calling me, not the other way around. I kept telling him to stop. Kirk slams his hand on the table. You lying? She fires back. You said you missed how real I was. You said things with her got cold. The crew gasps. One cameraman almost drops his rig. Rasheeda's breathing changes. Slow, controlled, but her eyes are wet now. She stares at Kirk for a long, unbearable moment, then whispers, You embarrassed me again on camera. Kirk tries to reach for her hand, but she steps back. Don't, she says. Don't touch me. I can't do this here. She walks off set. Production tries to stop her, but she's already gone. Outside the studio, paparazzi crowd the entrance, shouting questions. Rasheeda moves through them like a ghost, silent, composed, but her eyes say everything. In the background, Jasmine can be heard yelling at Kirk inside the studio. Don't make me release the voice notes, she screams. Kirk's face turns pale. Producers rush to shut the mics off, but it's too late. Sound techs caught every word. Within an hour, leaks start spreading clips from behind the scenes. Shaky audio files labeled Kirk's confession. Social media explodes again. Fans go wild with theories. Did Jasmine record their calls? Did Kirk really say he missed her? Is Rasheeda done for good this time? Podcasts, reaction channels, and bloggers upload minute-by-minute updates. Memes flood timelines. Someone edits a dramatic trailer, calling it The Frost Betrayal Part 2. Within a day, it racks up over 10 million views. Meanwhile, Kirk hides out at a friend's house, trying to do damage control. He calls the producers, begging them not to air the full scene. It'll destroy my marriage, he pleads. They tell him the footage is already scheduled. He hangs up, pacing the room, replaying Jasmine's words in his head. He knows she still has more messages, maybe even photos. He'd thought deleting his phone would be enough. He was wrong. Rasheeda spends the night at her sister's house. She doesn't eat, doesn't talk much. Her sister tries to comfort her, but Rasheeda's eyes stay on the window. She whispers, I should have known. He never really changed. Her phone vibrates non-stop, calls from producers, messages from friends, texts from fans. One stands out. A message from Jasmine herself. It reads, I didn't mean for this to happen. He made promises to both of us. Rasheeda stares at it for a long moment, then deletes it. The next morning, a leaked clip of Kirk and Jasmine arguing hits TMZ. Kirk's voice can be heard saying, You said you wouldn't tell nobody. Jasmine responds, You said you were leaving her. The internet goes into a frenzy. Everyone's picking sides. Hashtag split fans into two armies. Hashtag Team Rasheeda and hashtag Team Jasmine. By noon, even other cast members start commenting. K. Michelle posts a story that reads, Karma don't miss, while Carly Red simply comments 3 popcorn emojis under the main post. The chaos is unstoppable now. Producers decide to air the confrontation episode early. Promos flood TV and social media with the tagline, Secrets, Lies, and the messages that broke Atlanta. The teaser shows Rasheeda walking out, Jasmine crying, and Kirk burying his face in his hands. Ratings predictions shoot through the roof. But for the Frost family, this isn't entertainment anymore, it's real damage. As Atlanta buzzes with gossip, Rasheeda's silence becomes the loudest statement of all. The morning after the leak, Atlanta wakes up divided. Every radio show, every gossip podcast, every live stream is talking about the same thing. Kirk's voice notes. One recording in particular dominates headlines, a quiet, late-night clip where Kirk allegedly says, Sometimes, I just wish I could start over. Jasmine. That one line turns into a wildfire. News anchors replay it. Fans remix it into It becomes the sound of betrayal. Frost Bistro sees a sudden drop in visitors that day, while Jasmine's name trends at number 1. Rasheeda avoids the cameras for 48 hours. But paparazzi finally catch her walking into a studio wearing sunglasses and a long black coat. She looks calm, almost too calm. One reporter shouts, Rasheeda, do you forgive Kirk? She stops for a second, looks straight ahead, and says, Forgiveness don't mean forget. The clip hits millions of views in minutes. Fans start calling her the Queen of Calm Revenge. Inside the production office, the editing team works overtime, preparing the special episode titled The Frost Fallout. Producers know this one could break viewing records. They splice together the leaked footage, Rasheeda's reaction, and unseen behind-the-scenes moments. One editor whispers to another, "This episode's gonna be bigger than any season finale." And they're right. But while TV magic brews, real life starts to crumble. Kirk tries to reach Rasheeda through mutual friends, but she's blocked him everywhere. He even shows up at Frost Bistro late at night, thinking she might come by to check the books. Instead, he finds her assistant there, who tells him flatly, "She don't want to see you." He walks out, defeated. Later, he sits in his car, scrolling through fan comments, most of them brutal. Kirk never deserved her. Once a cheater, always a cheater. How many times can a woman forgive? Each one feels heavier than the last. Jasmine, on the other hand, is living in emotional chaos. She can't go outside without being followed. Her phone rings constantly with interview offers, endorsement deals, podcast invites. Her best friend Nia tells her, "You could flip this, make people see your side." Jasmine sighs, "But what side do I even have left?" She opens her notes app again, typing a message she doesn't send. "He promised me peace, not pain." 3 nights later, production sets up a surprise reunion scene. Kirk doesn't know Rasheeda has agreed to appear. When she walks in, the entire crew holds its breath. She sits opposite him. No greeting, no smile. The air feels cold, tight, almost metallic. Kirk starts, "I know words don't fix nothing, but I just want to explain." Rasheeda cuts him off. "You said that before." Her voice is calm but final. Every time, it's an explanation, never a change. Kirk looks down, his voice cracking. "I messed up. I ain't gonna lie. I thought reaching out to Jasmine would bring closure, but it just reopened everything." Rasheeda shakes her head. Closure doesn't come from repeating the same mistake. For a moment, neither speaks. The crew stays silent too, respecting the weight of it. Kirk finally whispers, "I still love you." Rasheeda closes her eyes, takes a deep breath, and says, "Then love me enough to stop hurting me." The next day, teasers of their conversation leak online again. Fans call it the most real scene in love and hip-hop history. Some cry watching Rasheeda hold herself together while Kirk breaks down. Others accuse the show of exploiting their pain. Blogs explode with debates. But what no one knows is that Jasmine has sent one more file to the producers, a video message she recorded for the finale. In it, she says, "I never wanted to ruin anyone's home. I just wanted the truth to stop haunting me." The producers play that clip at the end of the upcoming episode without warning either Kirk or Rasheeda. As soon as it airs, Atlanta loses its mind again. Jasmine's voice trembles through the speakers, raw and human. Fans post comments like she sounds broken too, and this triangle is destroying everyone. But hidden beneath the chaos, another rumor starts bubbling, one that no one sees coming. The whisper that Jasmine might not be the only one Kirk's been messaging. The rumor hits like a thunderclap. A fan page posts a blurry screenshot claiming Kirk was also texting another woman, an event planner from Miami who once worked on a Frost Bistro pop-up. At first, no one believes it, but then a voice note surfaces, one that doesn't sound like Jasmine. The tone, the laughter, the background music hates different. Blogs caption it the mysterious fourth voice. Within hours, speculation explodes. Who's the Miami girl? Did Kirk have a whole rotation? The frenzy reignites everything just as the Frost family tries to heal. Rasheeda sees the clip while getting ready for a live taping. Her stylist freezes, phone in hand. "Girl, you need to see this." Rasheeda snatches the phone, watches 30 seconds of the audio, then shuts it off. "Not today," she says, but her reflection in the mirror looks hollow. She walks onto set and delivers every line of the show flawlessly. But the cameras can't hide the tension behind her smile. The producers know it too, they've struck lightning twice. Kirk, meanwhile, storms into the production office, demanding answers. "Where y'all getting this from?" he shouts. The showrunner keeps her composure. "We didn't leak it, Kirk. It's the fans. Your story's public property now." He slams his fist on the table. "Your story's public property now." He slams his fist on the table. "This ain't a story. This is my life." She gives a small, tired sigh. Your life is what they tune in for. Back at her apartment, Jasmine watches everything unfold on her phone. She's quiet, exhausted. Her mother calls, saying, "Baby, you gotta stop letting them use you like this." Jasmine answers softly, "Ma, they don't use me. They erase me." She sits for a long time, then goes live on Instagram. Thousands join in seconds. "I didn't leak nothing," she says firmly, "but I'm done taking the blame for what grown men do." The live gets clipped, reposted everywhere. Some fans cheer her on, others accuse her of deflection. It doesn't matter. By midnight, #JusticeForJasmine trends across social media. The Frost household turns into a war zone of silence. Kirk tries calling Rasheeda again, leaving voicemails. Please, just call me back. Let's talk. She doesn't answer. She's meeting with her lawyer the next morning, not to file for divorce yet, but to explore her options. The news leaks immediately. Of course, every entertainment site runs the same headline. Rasheeda meets with lawyers as Kirk scandal deepens. The narrative writes itself. Production decides to capitalize on the chaos by filming confessionals. In hers, Rasheeda sits in a plain white room. No makeup, no jewelry, her voice trembling just slightly. People think being strong means you don't break, she says quietly. But strength is crying in private and still showing up to work. It becomes the most replayed moment of the entire season. Fans flood the comments. She's real for this. Protect Rasheeda at all costs. Kirk's confessional is different. His tone is defensive, confused. Everybody acting like I'm this monster. I ain't perfect, but I love my family. I ain't out here wilding like they say. He rubs his hands together, looking away from the camera. I just wish people could see how this stuff really happens, how one text can get twisted into a headline. Later that week, Jasmine posts a story showing a private email from a network exec asking her to appear in a reunion special. She doesn't reply. Instead, she posts a black screen with one sentence: "The truth will always find a mic." Fans lose their minds. The internet reads it as a threat, a promise, or both. The reunion taping approaches. Everyone's nerves are frayed. Producers tighten security, double the crew, and make sure every camera is rolling from the first second. As the cast settles into their seats, Rasheeda and Kirk sit on opposite ends of the couch, not looking at each other. Jasmine walks in last, wearing a soft beige dress, expression unreadable. The room falls silent. The host begins gently. There's been a lot of pain, a lot of rumors. Tonight, we try to get clarity. Kirk leans forward. I just want my truth out there. Rasheeda mutters under her breath. Your truth changes every season. Laughter erupts from the audience. The host calms everyone down. Jasmine then looks straight into the camera. You all think you know everything, she says, but there's one thing nobody's seen yet. The crowd gasps. Kirk looks panicked. Don't, he whispers. But she continues. He told me he loved me while he was sitting right next to her. The studio explodes. Fans at home will replay that moment forever. The studio erupts into chaos. Crew members exchange panicked glances as the audience rises from their seats, half of them shouting, half of them filming. The host tries to regain control, but the noise drowns him out. Kirk stands up, his face tight with anger and humiliation. You lying? He shouts, voice cracking through the mic. Jasmine doesn't flinch. You said it, Kirk. She answers, calm but shaking. You said it that night, when we filmed that Frost event. You looked me in my face and told me you still cared. Rasheeda sits motionless. Her eyes aren't on Jasmine or Kirk, just fixed on the floor. The audience quiets as the cameras zoom in on her face. The host, realizing this is television gold, leans in. Rasheeda, do you want to respond? She exhales, slow and deliberate. I've spent years being the woman who forgives, she says quietly. But at some point, forgiveness becomes permission. She turns to Kirk. And I'm done giving you that. The audience gasps again. Kirk runs a hand over his head, pacing in small, jerky steps. So that's it? You just gonna give up on everything we built? She laughs bitterly. We didn't build this, Kirk. I built it. You broke it. Jasmine's eyes widen. She wasn't expecting Rasheeda to turn her fire toward both of them. And you, Rasheeda adds, facing Jasmine now. You talk about truth like you're saving the world, but you love the attention. You always did. Jasmine's lips part as if to respond, but nothing comes out. The host steps in again, trying to steer the moment. Rasheeda, are you saying you're done with the marriage? She pauses, the room holding its breath. I'm saying, she says finally, I'm done chasing peace in a storm that never ends. The crowd erupts. Some cheer, some groan, but everyone knows they're witnessing a cultural moment. After filming wraps, the cast files out in silence. Kirk stays behind, slumped in his seat. Jasmine leaves first, brushing past him without a word. Outside, flashes from paparazzi light the night sky. Reporters shout, Rasheeda, is this the end? Jasmine, did you leak the clips? Kirk, are the rumors true about the Miami woman? None of them answer. By morning, clips from the reunion dominate every platform. Rasheeda finally walks away, becomes the headline of the day. Talk shows play the footage on loop. Analysts break down every micro-expression, every pause, every tear. Fans post messages like she took her power back and this is reality TV history. But behind the spectacle, the emotional wreckage is massive. Rasheeda spends the next few days away from cameras, staying at her mother's house in Decatur. She turns off her phone for the first time in years. When she finally turns it back on, there are hundreds of unread messages, apologies from Kirk, pleas from producers, offers from magazines wanting her exclusive. She deletes them all except one, a text from K. Michelle that simply says, "Stand tall." I've been there. Kirk hides out again, this time in a friend's condo. His phone won't stop buzzing, his reputation collapsing by the hour. Sponsorships pull back. Frost Bistro's management issues a statement saying personal matters should not affect the business. But reservations keep dropping. His old friends stop answering his calls. Even his children start to distance themselves. And Jasmine, she's spiraling. Though the internet once called her bold, now they call her the villain. Every comment under her posts reads like a wound. She turns off her comments, but the memes still multiply. One video shows her reunion quote remixed into a song. It's trending on TikTok. She scrolls through it with trembling fingers, half angry, half defeated. She whispers, "They turned my pain into entertainment." Meanwhile, producers at the network are ecstatic. The ratings from the reunion break every record. One executive claps his hands and says, "We need a follow-up special, Rasheeda Unfiltered." Someone else jokes, "Get Jasmine too." People love a redemption arc. Their laughter fills the room, unaware that for the people involved, none of it feels like a show anymore. That night, Rasheeda posts one simple message on her Instagram story, a photo of the moon over Atlanta. Captioned "New Phase." Fans flood her with support. Kirk sees it from his burner account and whispers to himself, "Guess that's my answer." But before he can spiral further, another headline drops: Jasmine's apartment has been broken into. Laptops missing. Phones gone. Rumors swirl that the intruder was after more than valuables, maybe the unreleased evidence she once hinted at. And just like that, the story ignites again, wilder than before. News of the break-in spreads faster than the morning sun. TMZ posts the first blurry image of police cars outside Jasmine's apartment complex. Sirens flash blue over wet pavement. Within minutes, live streams begin. Fans swarm the comment sections. Was it Kirk? Did Rasheeda send someone? Did Jasmine fake it for sympathy? Speculation spirals until the truth barely matters. Atlanta's gossip scene smells blood again. Inside the building, Jasmine sits on her couch in a blanket, pale and trembling. A detective walks through the apartment, taking photos, drawers open, couch cushions ripped apart, a smashed lamp on the floor. They knew exactly what to take, she says softly. "My hard drive, my phone, the old one with the messages." The officer nods, jotting notes. "You think someone wanted those files?" Jasmine looks down. Everyone wants those files. Word reaches production before the police report is even filed. The showrunner calls the network, practically giddy. "This story's writing itself," she says. "We need cameras on Jasmine tomorrow." Kirk hears about it from a gossip site while sitting in his car outside Frost Bistro. He slams his phone down. "This gotta stop," he mutters, gripping the steering wheel. Rasheeda gets the news during a lunch meeting with her publicist. Her first reaction isn't sympathy, it's exhaustion. "I just want peace," she says quietly. "I'm tired of living in headlines." Her publicist suggests a statement, something calm but firm. "Show you're rising above the noise," she advises. Later that night, Rasheeda posts, "Some things break so new things can grow," praying for everyone involved. Fans praise her grace. Kirk calls it performative, but he doesn't say it publicly. 2 nights later, Jasmine disappears from social media. Her accounts go dark. No posts, no lives, nothing. Bloggers start claiming she's hiding. One insider leaks that she's in talks with a journalist. One insider leaks that she's in talks with a journalist to release the full story on her own terms. Another rumor claims she's planning to sue the network for emotional distress. Kirk panics at the thought. He texts one of the producers. "If she drops that stuff, we're all done." The producer replies, "Then you better fix it before she does." So Kirk shows up at Jasmine's place around midnight. The police tape is still on the door, but he knocks anyway. No answer. He knocks again, harder. Finally, the door opens a few inches. Jasmine stands there, eyes swollen from crying, phone in hand recording him. "You shouldn't be here," she says flatly. "I came to talk," he pleads. "Please, Jasmine, we can't let this get worse." She steps out into the hallway, keeping distance. It already got worse. "Kirk, they took my files, my messages, my proof. Now I got nothing but my name, and that's ruined too." He looks broken. "I didn't do this. I swear." She studies him for a long second. "Maybe you didn't, but somebody close to you did." Then she closes the door. The next morning, footage from a neighbor's security camera leaks online. Grainy video showing Kirk at Jasmine's door. Blogs twist the story immediately. Kirk caught sneaking into Jasmine's apartment after breakfast. The internet erupts again. Frost Bistro trends for the wrong reasons. Kirk's phone rings, nonstop. Rasheeda sees the clip, sets her phone down, and just laughs a small, bitter laugh that sounds more like surrender than humor. Production scrambles to control the chaos. They issue a press release claiming the footage was taken out of context, and that Kirk was checking on Jasmine's safety. Nobody believes it. The reunion reruns air on repeat, ratings still climbing. The network announces a new special, Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, The Untold Messages. Fans go wild, but for the cast, it feels like a funeral march. A week later, Jasmine resurfaces online. She posts a dimly lit selfie and a caption that reads, "You can erase files, but not memory." The comments explode with theories. One user writes, "She's got backups." Another adds, "Season 2 about to be crazy." Behind the scenes, Kirk starts receiving anonymous emails, subject lines reading, "We still have copies." Each message includes fragments of his deleted conversations with Jasmine. The fear in his chest turns physical. Meanwhile, Rasheeda films a solo confessional for the upcoming special. She sits under soft studio lighting, wearing white, her voice low but steady. "I used to think public forgiveness made me stronger," she says. "Now I know private healing is the real strength." She wipes one tear, just one, and the producer whispers to the camera operator, "This is the closing shot." Outside the studio, Kirk stands watching from a monitor, eyes wet, hands shaking. Jasmine's last post still burns in his head. The world thinks this story is ending, but deep down he knows it's only paused, because somewhere out there, someone's still holding the real messages, and the next leak could end everything. Days pass, but the tension in Atlanta doesn't fade. Instead, it shifts, sharpens, like air before a thunderstorm. Gossip blogs begin posting grainy screenshots from what they claim are the unreleased messages. No one knows who's leaking them. Some say Jasmine found backups. Others swear a producer is cashing in on the chaos. The texts are worse than the originals, intimidated, familiar, loaded with regret and half-truths. One line in particular dominates timelines. "She never loved me the way you did." Kirk's words. Rasheeda reads it alone in her car, parked outside Frost Bistro. The restaurant's sign glows faintly through the windshield. Her hands grip the steering wheel until her knuckles turn white. She whispers to herself, "He actually said it." No tears this time, only the dull ache of realization that the man she defended has embarrassed her again in front of the entire world. Inside the restaurant, staff pretend not to notice the cameras waiting outside. Customers whisper at tables. One server mutters, "This place used to be goals." Another replies, "Now it's a headline." Kirk finally walks in, trying to project calm, but the silence in the room feels heavy. Every eye follows him. He signs a few papers at the counter, avoids the cameras, and slips out the back door. Meanwhile, Jasmine sits in a downtown cafe under a hoodie, scrolling through the new leaks on her phone. She didn't release them, but she isn't surprised someone did. Naya joins her, lowering her voice. "You see what they're saying now? They think you're working with the network again." Jasmine stirs her coffee slowly. "Let them think. They're gonna twist it no matter what I say." Nia studies her. "Then what's next for you?" Jasmine looks out the window at the rain. "I tell the truth my way. No cameras, no producers, just me." That night, Kirk receives another anonymous email. This one has a subject line, "Final warning." Attached is a short audio clip, his voice, unmistakable, whispering Jasmine's name. He slams his laptop shut, heart racing. What do they want? He mutters, but there's no ransom, no threat, just proof someone's still pulling strings behind the scenes. He drives to Rasheeda's house, knocking on the door like a man running from ghosts. She opens it halfway, expression blank. "What?" she asks. "I didn't do those leaks," he stammers. "Someone's playing us." She folds her arms. "Us. There's no us anymore." He tries again, voice breaking. "Please, just listen. They got files. Voice note stuff I thought was gone." Rasheeda shakes her head. "Maybe that's your karma catching up." She closes the door before he can speak again. The next morning, Atlanta's entertainment talk shows air exclusive previews of a new tell-all documentary in the works, allegedly featuring unseen footage and voice recordings from the Frost scandal. Fans call it the leak of the century. The teaser ends with Jasmine's voice saying, "This isn't revenge, it's clarity." Every outlet runs with it. Kirk's team panics. Lawyers get involved. Contracts are reviewed. Rasheeda refuses comment, but her silence only fuels speculation. By evening, the city feels electric. Camera crews gather outside Frost Bistro, fans chant her name, and a billboard flashes the promo for the documentary, Truth Uncovered, streaming soon. Kirk watches it from his car at a red light, his reflection flickering in the glass. He whispers, "They really turned my life into a movie." But inside Jasmine's apartment, she's crying not out of guilt, but exhaustion. She records a voice memo for herself. "I wanted peace," she says softly, "but peace don't sell." She sets the phone down and stares into the dark, realizing she's part of a story that no one controls anymore. And somewhere deep in a studio server room, an editor works late into the night, dragging files into a timeline labeled Final Cut. On his monitor, Kirk's voice echoes faintly. Jasmine's reply overlaps. And Rasheeda's final confessional closes the scene. Maybe the truth isn't what breaks us. Maybe it's the lies we keep telling to survive. The screen fades to black, but Atlanta is still wide awake, waiting for whatever comes next. The documentary drops at midnight. Within 15 minutes, social media catches fire. Every frame, every soundbite, every half-whispered word from Kirk, Jasmine, and Rasheeda is dissected in real time. Fans pause the video to analyze facial expressions, rewinding to catch the tremble in Jasmine's voice when she says, "I didn't ask for any of this." Hashtags surge to the top of every platform. Hashtag Truth Uncovered, hashtag Frost Files, hashtag Justice for Rasheeda. The opening scene sets the tone-grainy footage of Kirk driving at night, headlights cutting through rain, his voice recorded off-camera saying, "You can't undo what's already done." Then Jasmine's voice overlays it, softer but sharper. "No, but you can stop pretending it didn't happen." The credits roll and the world loses its breath. By sunrise, Atlanta feels like a live wire. Radio hosts debate whether Jasmine's confession was bravery or manipulation. Bloggers call the episode a masterpiece of controlled chaos. Frost Bistro's phone lines crash under the weight of calls. People are booking tables just to sit where Rasheeda once filmed her confessional, taking selfies with captions like "Where the Truth Broke." Rasheeda watches the documentary alone in her living room. Her hands stay folded in her lap, expression steady even as her voice echoes from the screen. At one point, she closes her eyes and whispers, "They made my life a soundtrack." When it ends, she exhales, long and heavy, then deletes every social media app from her phone. For the first time in years, there's quiet. Kirk isn't that lucky. Reporters swarm his driveway by noon. One yells, "Kirk, did you authorize the footage?" Another shouts, "Is it true Jasmine recorded everything?" He mutters no comment and speeds off. By afternoon, sponsorships are gone, brand deals withdrawn. An old friend from the music industry calls him, "Man, you need to lay low. Let the noise die." Kirk stares out the car window and replies, "The noise is me now." Jasmine wakes to a phone buzzing non-stop. Her face fills every news cycle, some calling her courageous, others labeling her toxic. She scrolls through messages from journalists offering book deals, networks, pitching interviews, strangers begging her to tell the uncut version. She sets the phone face down. For a moment, she just listens to the city outside, the distant hum of cars, the faint echo of a song playing somewhere down the street. She murmurs, "They wanted my truth. Now they can choke on it." That evening, the network releases unseen clips online as a director's cut. One of them features Rasheeda. One of them features Rasheeda, walking through Frost Bistro after hours, saying quietly, "This place used to be ours." The camera follows her to a table by the window, where she sits, staring at the empty street. Kirk's voice is heard in a voiceover from another scene, saying, "I never meant to hurt her." The editing makes it sound like an apology, but fans argue it's manipulation. Debates rage across every timeline. Meanwhile, production leaks a teaser for a reunion special, titled After the Storm. The announcement hits, while emotions are still raw, and fans lose their minds again. "We're getting part 2. Rasheeda better drag him this time." Within hours, the promo gets millions of views. Kirk's manager begs him to decline the invitation, but the network offers a 7-figure payout. Broke, humiliated, and desperate for control, he says yes. Rasheeda's team tries to convince her not to go. "Don't give them more pieces of you," her publicist warns. She answers softly, "They already took everything. Might as well take back my voice." Jasmine, hearing both are attending, stays silent publicly but texts Nia, "If they want closure, they'll get it." Nia replies, "Girl, don't start another war." Jasmine just types, "It never ended." As filming day nears, Atlanta buzzes like it did before the biggest storms. Quiet, electric, knowing something's coming. Posters for After the Storm hang across the city. 3 faces in shadow, one tagline in bold: no more secrets. Every fan, every blogger, every critic waits. The Frost story isn't over. It's just reaching its breaking point. And when those cameras roll again, Atlanta will witness the final reckoning live. The day of, after the storm arrives, like a storm itself, humid, overcast, and charged with something no one can name. Cameras line the parking lot of the Midtown studio. Fans crowd the sidewalks, holding homemade signs. Team Rasheeda, truth over clout, let Jasmine speak. Reporters swarm the entrance. Flashes burst as black vans pull up one after another. Jasmine steps out first, wearing a sleek emerald dress that catches every glint of light. Her face is unreadable. Security clears a path as questions fly. Did you leak the files? Are you still in touch with Kirk? She ignores them, walks inside with her head high. Moments later, Kirk arrives, dark suit, sunglasses, jaw clenched. The boos from the crowd are loud enough to shake the pavement. Still, he pushes forward, muttering to himself, "I'll fix it this time." But when Rasheeda's car pulls up, everything changes. She steps out dressed in white, clean, bright, almost glowing under the gray sky. The crowd cheers like royalty just arrived. The cameras close in. Someone yells, "Queen energy." She gives a faint smile and walks past them without a word. Inside, she takes her seat at the center of the couch, with Jasmine on one end and Kirk on the other. The host greets them with practiced calm, but the tension is suffocating. "Thank you all for being here," the host begins. After months of speculation, tonight is about closure. Rasheeda folds her hands neatly. "Closure don't come from cameras," she says. "But let's get this over with." Kirk shifts uncomfortably. Jasmine leans back, silent for now. The host starts with Jasmine. "The world saw your documentary. What made you decide to tell your story?" Jasmine glances briefly at Kirk before answering, "Because nobody believed me when I stayed quiet." Kirk scoffs under his breath. "Or when you were getting paid to talk," he mutters. Jasmine's eyes flash. "You of all people should be quiet." The audience gasps. The host steps in. "Kirk, you've said you were taken out of context." Kirk interrupts, voice rising. "Man, they twisted everything. That documentary made me look like a monster." Rasheeda cuts in calmly. "You didn't need editing for that." The crowd erupts. The host signals for quiet, but the damage is done. Kirk stares at her, stung. "You think I didn't hurt too?" he says. She meets his gaze. "The difference is, I didn't make my pain someone else's storyline." The silence after that sentence is long, thick, electric. Even the crew seems to forget to breathe. The host tries to move forward. "So where do things stand now between the three of you?" Jasmine speaks first. "There is no three of us. There never was. I was a mistake that got filmed." Her voice trembles, but she keeps talking. "I thought honesty would fix everything. Instead, it burned me alive." She looks directly into the camera. For anyone watching, don't confuse chaos with closure. Kirk lowers his head, rubbing his temples. "You right," he mutters, "but I can't undo what's done." Rasheeda sighs, softer now. "No, you can't. But you can stop pretending it didn't happen." The host nods, sensing the shift. "Rasheeda, what's next for you?" She looks straight ahead. "Healing, rebuilding, maybe learning to love quiet again." The crowd applauds gently, some wiping tears. Filming wraps after 3 hours, but no one leaves right away. The host thanks them. Cameras cut, lights dim. Kirk tries to speak to Rasheeda, but she walks past him, calm and deliberate. Jasmine exits the opposite way, slipping into the night before anyone can stop her. Outside, thunder rolls across the skyline. By midnight, clips from the taping leak online. Fans replay Rasheeda's line, "Don't confuse chaos with closure," like scripture. Memes flood timelines. Podcasts analyze tone and body language. One viral tweet reads, "She ended them with grace." The next morning, Frost Bistro reopens quietly. A small crowd gathers out front, leaving flowers on the steps. Rasheeda posts one photo from inside, an empty wine glass, sunlight on the counter, captioned "Peace tastes earned." Jasmine reposts it with a single word, "Same." Kirk says nothing. And for the first time in months, Atlanta exhales, not because the story ended, but because it finally stopped screaming. Still, in every interview, every podcast, every whispered conversation at salons and studios, one truth remains. The Frost saga didn't just make reality TV, it became its own reality. One that no one involved will ever escape. A week after the reunion airs, the city begins to quiet. But the silence feels fragile, like glass waiting for another crack. The Frost saga dominates talk shows for days, and yet something strange happens. Sympathy starts to shift. People who once laughed now sound tired. Even the gossip blogs slow down. posting nostalgic edits instead of new rumors. The drama's over. One headline reads, but the scars are permanent. Rasheeda spends most mornings at Frost Bistro again. She arrives early before cameras or customers, pours coffee, and walks through the dining room alone. The staff greet her gently, almost reverently, like they know she survived something heavy. She opens the curtains, lets light spill in, and finally breathes without looking over her shoulder. Her phone buzzes with offers, talk shows, brand collaborations, a documentary of her own, but she turns them all down. I've had enough storytelling for a lifetime, she tells her assistant. Now I just want real life. Kirk is nowhere to be seen. His friends whisper that he's left Atlanta for a while, gone to Tennessee to stay with a cousin. Fans spot him once at a gas station, wearing a hoodie and baseball cap. Someone records a short clip of him quietly pumping gas, muttering to himself, I lost it all trying to look unbroken. The video goes viral. Comments pour in. Karma caught him. Pain looks good on him. He finally learning. Yet there's a strange undercurrent of pity beneath the cruelty. Even his critics can tell he's not pretending anymore. Jasmine tries to rebuild in her own way. She moves out of the apartment that became a crime scene for her memories and rents a small place on the city's edge. She starts a podcast called The Quiet Truth. Her voice calm, reflective, almost unrecognizable from the woman who once fought through studio lights. In the first episode, she says, for the first time in my life, I don't want to explain anything. I just want to exist. The clip trends instantly. Instead of backlash, she gets messages from women across the country thanking her for being honest, for surviving public shame with her head high. One evening, Rasheeda listens to Jasmine's podcast while closing the restaurant. When Jasmine says, we were all broken, just in different ways, Rasheeda pauses, wipes the counter, and whispers, maybe she's right. She thinks about texting her, then decides not to. Some healing doesn't need witnesses. The network milks the saga one last time with a 2-hour special called Legacy and Lessons. It features unseen footage, interviews with producers, and clips of fans explaining how the Frost story changed the culture. Critics call it exploitative, but ratings soar again. During the final montage, a soft instrumental plays over Rasheeda walking through Frost Bistro and Jasmine sitting by her window, writing notes. The narrator says, in a city built on secrets, truth became their only weapon. The closing shot fades to black. After it airs, Rasheeda posts one final message. Thank you for watching our chaos. Now let's all heal in peace. Jasmine reposts it with a heart emoji. Even Kirk, from wherever he's hiding, likes the post under a private account. Weeks pass. Seasons turn. Atlanta moves on to new scandals, new stories, new stars. But the Frost saga remains a cautionary echo, a reminder of how fame can devour love, how secrets can outlive apologies, and how sometimes, the loudest redemption is silence. And somewhere in a quiet studio, far from the city lights, Rasheeda records a soft voice note for herself. I survived the internet, the cameras, and the lies. Now I get to survive me. She saves it under one word. Months roll by, and Atlanta feels different, less electric, more human. Months roll by, and Atlanta feels different, less electric, more human. Again, the frenzy that once surrounded the Frost name fades into something quieter, almost respectful. Frost Bistro is full again, not because people want gossip, but because they want good food and calm energy. The walls that once absorbed whispered rumors now hold laughter. Rasheeda walks through the dining room with the ease of someone who finally owns her peace. She greets regulars, checks on tables, and even hums softly between steps. A local reporter catches her outside one morning and asks, what's next for you? She smiles for the first time in months and says, life. The documentary world moves on to new scandals. But clips from the Frost saga still float around, used in think pieces about the price of public love and college lectures about digital fame. One particular scene, Rasheeda saying, forgiveness becomes permission, becomes a viral quote on mugs, hoodies, even phone cases. She never endorses them, but she doesn't stop them either. Sometimes she sees strangers wearing the phrase and smiles quietly, knowing the words came from a wound that finally healed. Kirk eventually returns to Atlanta, not with a grand announcement, not with a press tour, just quietly. He shows up at Frost Bistro one afternoon, no cameras, no entourage, just him. Rasheeda is in the back, reviewing inventory. When she steps out and sees him, the air stills for a moment. They don't speak right away. He just says, I came to pay my respect. She nods once. You already did. She says, not bitter, not soft, simply final. He eats alone in a corner booth, leaves a generous tip, and walks out. The staff watches in silence. Jasmine's podcast grows steadily, loved for its honesty. She starts interviewing women who've survived scandal, heartbreak, and rebuilding. People say her tone changed, that she sounds peaceful. She still gets hate online, but she rarely reads it now. She lives in her calm apartment surrounded by plants and candles, her voice floating through speakers across the country. One night, her episode about Grace After Fire trends #1 on At the end of it, she says softly, "They called it drama. I call it growth." Listeners flood the comments. This is healing disguised as storytelling. The network, hungry for nostalgia, approaches Rasheeda again, this time for a new show centered on women rebuilding after betrayal. She agrees only under one condition: no fake storylines. "If we do this," she says firmly, "we do it raw. No scripts, no edits." The executives hesitate, then agree. Months later, Rebuilt, Atlanta Women Rise premieres. The first episode opens with Rasheeda walking down an empty street at sunrise, saying, "You can lose everything and still find yourself again." Viewers cry. Even Jasmine calls it beautiful. Kirk watches from home. No bitterness, no jealousy, just quiet acceptance. He's started a small auto shop in South Atlanta, out of the spotlight. Sometimes customers recognize him, but instead of gossip, they ask, "You good now?" He usually smiles and says, "Working on it." In time, the Frost saga becomes less about scandal and more about survival. Schools teach it in media studies. Podcasters quote it as cultural history. Fans move on. But the three names, Rasheeda, Kirk, Jasmine, remain, etched into Atlanta's myth like old graffiti that never fully fades. One evening, months later, Jasmine attends a charity gala. Across the room, she spots Rasheeda. Their eyes meet for a long second. No anger, no pain, just understanding. Rasheeda raises her glass slightly. Jasmine does the same. No words exchanged. But in that moment, both women know the same truth. The storm finally passed. Outside, the city glows in soft golden light. No paparazzi, no screaming headlines, just peace humming through the streets that once carried their chaos. And for the first time in a long, long while, the Frost story truly ends not with a scandal, not with a twist, but with silence that finally means freedom. Weeks melt into months, and the Frost saga becomes something of a ghost story in Atlanta, whispered in beauty salons and coffee shops by people who still can't quite believe it all happened. The old clips resurface sometimes, looping on fan accounts, used as reaction memes or nostalgic throwbacks, but they no longer sting. They've become pieces of history now, archived under entertainment, no longer scandal. Rasheeda flourishes quietly. She expands Frost Bistro into a franchise, opening a second location in Charlotte. Interviews return, this time on her terms. She sits across from calm hosts, not gossip reporters. When they ask about Kirk, she doesn't roll her eyes or deflect anymore. She simply says, "We both grew up through fire." Fans note how steady her voice sounds, how at peace her eyes have become. She doesn't owe the past an apology or a defense. She's outgrown the need. One evening, after closing, she sits outside the restaurant under the string lights. Her assistant brings her a folder full of new contracts to sign, but she sets it aside. She looks up at the skyline, whispering to herself, "I survived the story they wrote for me." She takes a deep breath, exhales, and smiles, not for cameras, not for followers, but for herself. Across town, Jasmine records another episode of The Quiet Truth. Her tone is softer than ever, her words slower, reflective. Forgiveness isn't about letting them back in, she says, it's about letting yourself walk out. Her audience has grown into millions now. Listeners who don't care about the Frost Triangle anymore, they care about healing, accountability, peace. Sometimes she mentions the past gently, without bitterness, like referencing a dream she's finally woken from. One night, she gets a handwritten letter, no return address, just neat cursive on cream paper. "You were right to speak. Thank you for reminding me that truth doesn't need permission." Jasmine folds it quietly, knowing exactly who it's from. She doesn't post about it, doesn't tell anyone. She tucks it into her journal between pages filled with gratitude lists. It's the quiet closure neither of them ever found on camera. As for Kirk, life humbles him in silence. His auto shop grows slowly, enough to keep him steady. He works long days, wipes grease off his hands, and listens to Jasmine's podcast while fixing engines. Sometimes he hears her voice say things that hit too close, and he pauses, staring into nothing, the sound of her words echoing in the small shop. One evening, he whispers to himself, "You did good, Jasmine. You really did." Years later, a streaming platform releases a documentary titled After the Fame, Atlanta Untold. It looks back at the city's biggest reality moments. The Frost saga gets an entire episode. Fans watch with nostalgia, laughing, crying, remembering. One younger viewer comments, "They walked so reality TV could feel real again." The footage ends with Rasheeda in present day, standing in front of Frost Bistro's glowing sign, saying, "Truth nearly broke us but it also rebuilt us." The final montage fades over soft piano music, Rasheeda greeting customers, Jasmine speaking into her mic, Kirk repairing a car. Atlanta lights shimmer in the background, reflecting off wet streets. The narrator's voice closes. In a city addicted to noise, 3 people finally learned the power of quiet. And in that stillness, the Frost story rests, not buried, not erased, just finally at peace, living in the place where drama ends and humanity begins. Years later, Atlanta remembers the Frost saga the way cities remember storms, something that came fast, broke everything open, and left behind clearer skies. New faces now rule the gossip blogs, but every so often, a clip resurfaces, Rasheeda's words, Jasmine's trembling honesty, Kirk's regret under bright studio lights. They've become symbols, not scandals, less about who hurt who, more about how people heal when the world is watching. Rasheeda's empire stretches beyond restaurants. She launches a mentorship foundation for young women in entertainment, teaching them how to protect their stories before others can sell them. When she gives speeches, she doesn't mention Kirk or Jasmine by name, but her audience knows. "You can rebuild anything," she says at one event. "Just don't rebuild it with shame." Afterward, young girls line up to thank her, calling her a phoenix. She signs their notebooks and smiles, humble, proud, whole. Kirk keeps his distance from the spotlight. His auto shop becomes a quiet success, modest, local, steady. His name still sparks recognition sometimes, but customers don't whisper anymore. They ask about their cars, not his past. Every evening he closes the shutters, wipes the oil from his hands, and sits by the radio, listening to music from when life was simpler. Sometimes, in rare moments of stillness, he pulls out an old family photo from his wallet. Rasheeda, laughing, their kids young, the world still believing in forever. He doesn't cry anymore. He just nods to himself, whispering, "I learned." Jasmine becomes a best-selling author. Her memoir Truth doesn't need permission tops charts within weeks of release. In it, she doesn't write with venom, she writes with grace, her sentences soft but sharp. She describes her past not as chaos but as catalyst, calling it the fire that burned everything fake away. At her first book signing, she spots Rasheeda's mother in line. They exchange a quiet handshake. No words, just mutual understanding. The network that once exploited their pain eventually crumbles under its own greed. Reality TV shifts. Less scandal, more authenticity. Critics say the Frost story changed the industry, made people demand something real beneath the glitter. A decade after it all began, Frost Bistro celebrates its 10th anniversary. The crowd is smaller, quieter, filled with familiar faces from old seasons. Jasmine attends quietly, standing near the back. When Rasheeda sees her, there's no tension, no hesitation. She walks over, arms open, and they hug, 2 women who outlived the noise. The cameras that once hunted them are gone. No one's recording, no one's narrating, just music, laughter, peace. Kirk stands at a distance, watching them with a soft smile. He doesn't interrupt, he just nods, almost proud. As the night winds down, Rasheeda steps outside. Jasmine joins her. The Atlanta air is warm, the skyline buzzing faintly in the distance. Rasheeda says, "Funny how quiet the city feels now." Jasmine replies, "Maybe it was always quiet, we just couldn't hear it." They both laugh softly, the kind of laugh that comes after years of carrying too much. When they part ways, Rasheeda looks up at the glowing sign above Frost Bistro and whispers to herself, "We made it." Jasmine drives home through streets that once carried headlines and rumors. Now peaceful, alive only with the hum of streetlights. And somewhere in between the quiet and the memory, the Frost legacy settles, not a scandal, not a tragedy, but a lesson etched into Atlanta's history. The storm is long gone. What remains is the calm after it, the kind that finally feels earned. Time has a way of softening even the loudest echoes. 10 years turns to 15, and the Frost story, once Atlanta's obsession, fades into legend. The younger generation knows it only through documentaries and old clips captioned "when reality TV was real." Yet the city still feels its imprint. People reference Rasheeda's strength the way others quote poetry. College students write essays about Jasmine's redemption arc. Kirk's mistakes are taught in workshops about accountability and image recovery. What once felt like scandal has become scripture. Rasheeda now owns a chain of restaurants across the South. Her brand Frost legacy stands for elegance and survival. Her walls are lined with black and white photos of the early days, one of her and Kirk at the first bistro opening, another of her standing alone, smiling after rebuilding. She never took the old images down. She says they remind her that growth is proof of endurance, not perfection. She appears occasionally on talk shows, usually when the topic is resilience. Her words are steady, measured. Pain doesn't end you, she tells one interviewer. It edits you. Jasmine's life takes a quieter shape. She buys a small house outside Savannah, surrounded by magnolia trees and open air. Her podcast continues, though she releases fewer episodes now, speaking only when she has something worth saying. Her book becomes part of women's studies curricula. She spends her mornings gardening and her nights writing letters to listeners who tell her they found strength in her voice. She never signed with another network. She never needed to. Kirk becomes a ghost in public memory, but not a bitter one. He stays in Atlanta, older now, slower, his beard streaked with gray. Sometimes, people still recognize him and ask for a photo. He always says yes, never defensive. He runs charity car workshops for young men trying to stay out of trouble, teaching them how to build something honest. You mess up, you fix it, he tells them. Don't let pride stall your engine. The irony isn't lost on him. One summer afternoon, Rasheeda visits his shop unexpectedly. He looks up from under a lifted hood, surprised. She's wearing sunglasses, holding a takeout bag. Brought you lunch, she says. Thought you might still forget to eat when you're working. He laughs softly. They sit outside under the awning, sharing food and quiet. It isn't reconciliation. It's peace between two people who finally outlived resentment. Before leaving, she says, "You did all right, Kirk." He nods. So did you, Sheeda. Later that week, Jasmine records one final podcast episode. Her voice is slower now, matured. I used to think my story was about betrayal, she says. But it was really about rebirth. We all have chapters we wish we could edit out, but if we did, the book wouldn't make sense anymore. She ends with a small chuckle. The truth really doesn't need permission. Then silence. She never records again. Years later, when Frost Bistro celebrates 20 years, Atlanta declares the date, Frost Day, not to honor scandal, but survival. The mayor gives Rasheeda an award for cultural influence. Jasmine attends quietly in the crowd, smiling. Kirk watches from a few rows back. When Rasheeda accepts the award, she pauses mid-speech, searching the room. Her eyes find both of them, and she says, "Thank you to everyone who helped me learn that love doesn't fail, it transforms." The audience stands in applause. Outside, the sky over Atlanta glows faintly pink. The city feels older, wiser, quieter. For the first time in decades, there are no cameras, no leaks, no noise, just 3 lives that finally settled into truth. The Frost saga doesn't end with fire or fury this time. It ends with small kindnesses, a shared lunch, a passing smile, a city remembering not the scandal, but the strength it left behind. And somewhere between the echoes of the past and the peace of the present, the Frost name, once synonymous with chaos, becomes something else entirely. Legacy. Decades pass. Atlanta grows taller, brighter, heavier, with glass towers and new faces who don't remember how raw those early reality years felt. Frost Bistro is now a landmark. Tourists pose outside its brick facade, snapping photos beside a bronze plaque that reads, "Founded by Rasheeda Frost, 2020's icon of resilience." Inside, a younger generation runs the kitchen, people who only know her from stories and reruns. Rasheeda, now silver-haired and graceful, lives in a quiet house on the city's edge. Her mornings begin before sunrise, with tea and music instead of alarms. She no longer checks analytics or comments. The world's noise has finally fallen away. When journalists visit, she greets them on the porch, smiling with that same unshakable calm. "I used to live through screens," she tells one. "Now I live through seasons." Her life is simple, but it carries the weight of having once been everywhere. She still keeps one photo framed near her kitchen table, her younger self. Kirk beside her, Jasmine in the background during an old charity event. 3 people, frozen in time before the storm broke them apart and somehow, strangely, brought them back to themselves. She never hides that photo. When guests ask, she says, "That was the moment we didn't know what was coming. But I wouldn't erase it, not for anything." Kirk lives a few miles south, tending to his auto shop, still fixing cars, still teaching. His hands are rough but steady. A local high school invites him once a year to speak to seniors about mistakes and growth. He tells them the cameras caught everything but the lessons. Learn yours before somebody else films them. The students laugh, but they listen. In the evenings, he sits on his porch, watching the highway lights and thinking about how fast life can outrun itself. Sometimes he drives by Frost Bistro at night, parks across the street, and just sits there, proud. Jasmine eventually leaves Georgia. She settles near the coast in a small cottage surrounded by palm trees and salt wind. She writes poetry now, short, quiet lines about survival and stillness. Her collection, The Calm After, becomes a modest bestseller. She never does another interview, but once a year, she sends handwritten postcards to the women she once clashed with on camera, apologies, without expectation, gratitude without audience. One of them always goes to Rasheeda. Every card ends the same way. Thank you for teaching me how to stand still in chaos. On the 20th anniversary of Truth Uncovered, the network airs a retrospective special. Younger hosts narrate, older footage flickers, and the original trio appears briefly via recorded messages. Rasheeda says, "We thought we were breaking apart, but we were really breaking open." Jasmine adds, "The truth didn't ruin us, it revealed us." Kirk's message is simple. Sometimes losing the world gives you back your soul. The segment ends with their old theme music fading into silence. After the broadcast, fans flood social media with posts of gratitude instead of gossip. They grew. We grew. One caption reads, "At Frost Bistro that night, regulars raised their glasses to the past." Rasheeda stands by the window, watching the city she built rebuild itself over and over again. She murmurs, "We outlasted the noise." Outside, Atlanta hums in soft neon and rain. The storm that once defined them is long gone, replaced by ordinary life, the kind they all once thought they'd never get back. And somewhere in that quiet, beneath the glow of streetlights and history, the Frost story settles for good, not a tragedy, not a scandal, but a testament, a reminder that even in a world addicted to spectacle, peace is still the final plot twist. If you've watched this far, take a deep breath, because what you just witnessed wasn't only a story about Kirk, Jasmine, and Rasheeda. It was a mirror, held up to everything fame hides and everything truth eventually uncovers. The Frost saga started as another Atlanta scandal, but it ended as a lesson about humanity, about how public chaos can still lead to private healing, about how people can break in front of millions and still find the courage to rebuild. And now, it's your turn to think about what you've seen. Every headline, every leaked clip, every tear that rolled across that screen was more than entertainment. It was a story about choices. The choice to protect peace when the world wants pain. The choice to walk away instead of perform forgiveness for applause. The choice to rebuild not for cameras, but for yourself. And that's why this story will never truly fade. Because somewhere deep down, every person watching has felt what they felt. The fear of being misunderstood, the ache of betrayal, the slow strength it takes to start again. So as this video fades out, don't scroll past it like another clip. Stop for a second. Ask yourself, what part of this story hit you hardest? Was it when Rasheeda finally said, "I'm done chasing peace in a storm that never ends"? Was it when Jasmine stopped defending herself and started healing out loud? Or was it when Kirk, humbled and quiet, admitted that silence can sometimes teach more than fame ever could? Wherever it landed in your chest, hold that moment, because that's the real message here. We talk about drama like it's a game, but behind every viral story, there's a human being still trying to breathe. Rasheeda found strength not by pretending she was unbreakable, but by admitting she was tired. Jasmine found her voice not by shouting louder, but by refusing to be silenced. Kirk learned the hard way that love isn't about possession, it's about respect, even after the damage is done. Those lessons don't belong only to them, they belong to all of us. And now, here's where you come in. If you've ever loved someone who betrayed you, if you've ever fought for peace in a room full of noise, if you've ever been judged for a truth people weren't ready to hear, then this story is yours too. Go to the comments and tell us, what did you learn from the Frost legacy? What does forgiveness mean to you after seeing how these lives unfolded? Do you believe people can really change? Or do some mistakes leave permanent marks? I want to hear from you, every single one of you, because this channel isn't just about watching drama, it's about understanding it. Don't forget to hit that like button if you felt this story deeply, and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. The Frost saga might be over, but Atlanta never sleeps. Truth always finds a microphone. Every week, we bring you stories that dig into the hidden sides of fame, love, and loyalty. Stories that make you gasp, think, and sometimes heal. Turn on your notifications so you're first to know when the next chapter drops. Maybe it'll be another secret exposed, maybe a redemption no one saw coming. But one thing's for sure, It'll be real, raw, and impossible to look away from. Before you go, leave a heart emoji in the comments if you're rooting for peace over chaos, for growth over gossip. Because if this story proved anything, it's that strength doesn't come from shouting, it comes from surviving. Remember how Rasheeda said, "The loudest redemption is silence." That's not just her line. That's a blueprint for anyone who's ever had to start again after the world tore them apart. And to everyone watching right now, whatever storm you're walking through, know this: storms pass. They always do. Sometimes the healing takes years, sometimes it never looks how you imagined. But it comes, and when it does, you'll look back the way they did, not with regret, but with understanding. Because what feels like the end of your story might just be the beginning of your strength. So as this video closes, let's honor the lesson behind the chaos. Say it out loud with me: truth doesn't need permission, healing doesn't need validation, and peace doesn't need an audience. It just needs you. Thank you for being part of this journey, for feeling, reacting, arguing, crying, and staying till the end. You didn't just watch a story, you witnessed growth in real time. If you're new here, welcome to the family. This is where we talk about what really happens behind the glitz, behind the filters, behind the masks. Hit that subscribe button, join the discussion, and share this video with someone who needs to see that broken things can still build beauty. From the streets of Atlanta to every screen around the world, the Frost name became a symbol of what it means to fall and rise again. And maybe that's why people never stopped watching, not for the scandal, but for the reminder that no matter how messy it gets, redemption is still possible. So before you click away, take a second to drop your thoughts below. Whose journey moved you the most? Rasheeda's resilience, Jasmine's rebirth, or Kirk's reckoning? What would you have done in their place? Let's talk about it, because conversation is where healing starts. And until the next story unfolds, stay kind, stay curious, and don't believe everything you scroll past. Because behind every headline, there's a heart. Behind every scandal, there's a soul. And behind every storm, there's someone waiting for peace to come home. Like, share, subscribe, and remember, truth always finds its way out, even when the world isn't ready to listen. This is Viral Celeb. This is Atlanta. And this was the Frost Legacy. This was the Frost Legacy.